Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Satisfactory. I'm AxionEvolved. And last time we did a little bit of work up in here. You know, we got some pipes moved over, but really the focus was on fuse modular frames because we're going to need those going forward. But today I want to do more, right? There's more stuff that we're going to need, and I think this is the perfect area to do it. So I got some ideas, I got some plans, and we're going to get into that. So with that out of the way, let's hop right into this. And actually, the first stop is actually going to be up here, right? We had made these guys where we're making power shards, right? So another part of that, though, is the alien DNA, right? So what I'm going to do, we're going to kind of use this guy here. I'm going to add, what are they, remains? Yeah, all these remains. And honestly, this kind of shows you some of the versatility of the programmable splitters. They're really, I mean, they're good for doing multiple items in multiple directions, right? Whereas, you know, like a similar thing would be a smart splitter would give you one line, right? So you can do this. But I still have to separate all this stuff out, right? So it's almost like the programmable splitters are good, but you need to use a smart splitter somewhere down the road or something of that nature, right? Or another, you know, another programmable splitter or whatever, right? So what I think we're going to do, now we have 4 items. I think I'm literally just going to, do I have a blueprint here? It should just be a constructor, right? Yeah, I think I can just do this. Right, something like that. I will have to kind of redo some of this, right? But the idea is that I'll just put another probably programmable splitter, or maybe even smart splitters. Maybe I'll do 4 smart splitters right on this line. Send the parts in here. Have all the, because they're all going to eventually be proteins, right? So have all these proteins go into a DNA capsule, and then have that DNA capsule go into a sink. I think that's the plan there, right? So let me go ahead and kind of finalize that real quick. All right, and so I did kind of make it a little bit more, I'll put it out of the way a little bit. Another programmable splitter though, and then smart splitters, because remember, we're also going to have slugs on this line. So I have everything going through. This is set to overflow, or if somehow some undefined things gets in here, they're going out that way, right? But all the remains come out. They're all making protein. Protein goes into an overclocked DNA capsule, and that just goes right into a dedicated sink. So eventually we'll get just a ton of tickets, and that'll be nice. Now, there's some more stuff we need to do, right? Like I had mentioned before. Number 1, we need to start working towards these, right? I don't know if you noticed, but if I go up this way in the base, well, you can see right there, we got the spice. We got the spicy green, you know? I need to get the filters to take care of that. Now, the filters I have are not the ones that I need for that. So, but they are like a base material for it. In fact, let's run up to the hub real quick. So if we're looking at some of the milestones here, right? Tier 7, I still haven't unlocked hazmat suit. Now, this is important because it gives us this stuff, which allows us to get close to the radioactive things. We have a ton of uranium, not deposits, but like the little chunks that I want to remove so that I can build out that way, right? And in order to do that safely, I need to get this stuff, right? But this requires gas filters, right? Aluminum casings, you know, we have X amount of. Quick wire, we have X amount of, right? So that's kind of trivial. This stuff is trivial, but the gas we need to get, right? And one of the main components of the gas filters that we do not have is fabric. So looking at what we have, if we go right over here, we have a bunch of oil sitting right there. Right there. Oil. Now, okay, let me back up. Fabric, right? Let's look at fabric. Fabric has a couple options. You can go the mycelia route with the biomass. That's arguably the easiest way to do it. However, it doesn't it's not automatic, right? I have to go collect mycelia. I have to go collect biomass, which doesn't make for, again, automation, right? But this polyester fabric recipe uses polymer resin. It uses water. It makes fabric. That is something that we can do. That's something we can automate, right? So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be a long process, I'm going to take probably this farthest left pipeline, because I think that's only 300 oil per minute. And I'm going to route it over to the little thing I have over here with all the other pipes. Oh, God, I hope I don't die. Please don't die. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to have it come over here and come into the base. So, yeah. So, I guess I'll start that and run all the pipes in. And then we'll have to figure out how exactly we're going to make all this fabric. Okay, so the journey begins here, actually. So, what I did, like I mentioned, I took away the farthest right pipeline over there, and I actually rerouted it this way because I'm trying to. I figured we already have this bridge, so we might as well utilize it to move things, right? So I actually did a lot of this work on a Twitch live stream. So if you guys are ever interested, right now I'm aiming for Mondays, but we'll increase it as I kind of get farther along and get more time, right? But right now this pipe just literally coming up here, popping up, and running along here. And I figure it's a good idea to maybe run all the pipes in, right? So that's what I did. And with all these pipes, I just kind of figured out a nice way to run them all in. And I have this extra water pipe here because eventually I'm sure we'll need to get water from over there. I'm just positive of it. Well, I think even with aluminum processing, we're going to need a lot of water. And so that's kind of what I did. And so I'm just running these all in here. And I made something, I think it's kind of cool. You can kind of see it up there. Let's get a little bit closer. So I wanted to find a new way to kind of get the pipes moving around in here. And so really, this is just the outside. But I'm running this pipe scaffolding blueprint that I made. And I really like this, right? It gives you a couple options here. Now, it is very wide, but I think that's fine, right? But what does this do, right? It gives me a space to run pipes well off the ground, right? So plenty of room under the pipes. But I also have these little power nubs in here so that you can kind of just throw those in here as well. And what I mentioned that this was a blueprint, right? So where is that? 9 wall pipe scaffold. So there it is. So it's a blueprint. And then over here, I was trying to figure out, like, well, how am I going to kind of sort all these? But it actually sorted pretty well, and it's all very clean. And nothing overlaps. Like, look at that. It all goes perfectly with the oil in the middle, right? So I think that's pretty good. And the reason I did it this way, and you can kind of see it over here, it makes it really easy for non-dedicated systems, right? If you're dedicating a pipe to one thing, then it makes a lot of sense to do this a different way. But in this case, where we have stuff that might just kind of grab or kind of, only sporadically need some of the stuff, you can just plop on a junction right here and just feed your machine, right? So pretty easy there. And that's kind of the idea for this whole thing, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to eventually get, this oil and water. We're going to use that for our fabric production, right? But I'm also going to... So I've been looking, right? And I guess we should talk fabric. So my plan... Now, we need to make polymer resin. Well, if we look at the polymer resin possible recipes, I think this alternate recipe is the best one we're going to get, right? It takes 60 per minute crude oil, turns it into almost more than double the polymer resin, with the side effect of having some heavy oil residue as an output, right? So that also means that we're going to have to deal with heavy oil residue. Now, there's some other things that we can use that heavy oil residue for. Namely, we can make smokeless powder. Smokeless powder, we just take heavy oil residue, we just take black powder, boom, smokeless powder. Now, obviously, that kind of leads us to, well, we need black powder over here. So what I've done, or what I'm going to do, is I'm taking all the excess black powder from our little mini weapons factory over there. Really, it's like a Noblest factory. And I'm going to run that into one of the empty starter train cars. And that's just going to come back over here. So that should be all taken care of. Like, no problems there. And then we're going to kind of hook all this other stuff. So let me actually start getting this stuff going, because it's a lot to do. So I'm going to warn you, it got a little crazy. Not too crazy. It's not that crazy. All right. But right here, you can see we have our black powder. And I put it in the first car because these items aren't super, let's say, they're plentiful. I don't make a lot of them. So it was easy to just kind of grab the black powder out of the front one here. And yeah, same thing. We're kind of just following our stuff here. Now, I'll get to what all this is in a second, but you know, we got the smart splitter and it's running all the way down over here, and then you can kind of see what we've made here. Now, remember, I'm kind of going for the vibe of, I don't know if organized chaos is the right word, but kind of that, right? So let's start at the beginning here. The star of the show is this refiner here. And also, side note, I did kind of redo how these pipes go, and I really like it. I think it's a little bit better than having it come straight down like that one. And it works better over here. So anyway, so we have the oil coming out. It is making polymer resin, heavy oil residue. Polymer resin goes out that way. Heavy oil residue comes over here with our black powder coming in, and we are making the smokeless powder, right? So smokeless powder comes out, it goes that way. We'll go over there in a second. Polymer resin comes in, splits out to these 4 refineries. These are all just making fabric, right? We have polymer resin, we have water. In fact, here, you can have that I have in my inventory for some reason. Polymer resin, water, boom, fabric. And now we're making a ton of fabric. And what's nice is I just kind of squeeze this in right here. We got a dimensional depot. We are stocked up. I'll probably have to put it in an overflow because I don't want this backing up, but you know, probably will. And one thing I'm doing to kind of stick with the organized chaos theme is like I'm building around all the blueprints. You know what I mean? So like this is our support, but I have belts going around it and really kind of like trying to fill the space. I like the vibe, right? So what do we use this smokeless powder for? Well, if we follow this line here, and here's another thing that I'm trying to do, right? I have an inbound line, I have an outbound line, and they're all crisscrossing all these belts and they're on different levels. That's kind of what I'm going for. Like same thing here. You know, I've got other stuff happening over here. It's drawing stuff off. This coming from way over there, right? So there's 2 things that I want to use this smokeless powder for, right? We need weapons. Nobelisks, we're pretty good. Like that factory over there, it's doing its job, and it's doing its job enough. We don't use that many Nobelisks, right? But over here, this is what we're not making. Explosive rebar. I want that. It's like a Nobelisk, but with a rebar gun, right? So we're using this. And then, you know, we've got our rebar constructors right here. Those just get some iron rods from down below. This gets the smokeless powder. But I do also need to make rifle ammo, right? And I think if we look here, rifle ammo, we're going to end up using this recipe right here. So I'm going to put the assemblers probably somewhere over here. And yeah, and then I think, yeah, we can go from there. So let me put those down real quick. And then I think the next thing to do, because remember, the goal here is gas filters. That's kind of what we're working towards, right? So we're going to go back over to the Blue Crater Lake, somewhere we haven't been in a while, and do a little work there. So let me plop this down real quick, and then we'll move over there and kind of talk it through. You know, one of the things I like about how this is all set up is I like the height, the verticality, right? Using the vertical belts and the lifts and all that stuff, or I guess high horizontal, to kind of move everything around, right? So here we have the rifle ammo set up. Again, it's all outputting into this storage container. Not a lot yet, but you know, we're getting there. And again, everything's coming in here. I have this smart splitter here to actually overflow any smokeless powder into this sink here, because if we, you know, any of the oil products, I don't necessarily want them to back up. It's not detrimental if it backs up, but it's just kind of better if it doesn't, I think. That's a much bigger deal in a power plant than it is right here, but yeah. So that's kind of the way this is going to be set up. I like the way it looks. Like, it feels kind of cool. I will have to... I'll have to figure out how to get, like, walking paths in here, walkways, because I think that's going to be, like, add that extra touch, you know? Like, maybe I'll have a master walkway level up here or something, and then have it, like, you can descend into this area and maybe walk around this way, kind of see what's going on. I don't know. We'll kind of see that after everything's done, but yeah, I like the way this is feeling, and the vibe is pretty good, right? So now we need to go back over to the Blue Crater Lake, like I mentioned, because there's work that needs to be done there for the simple act of just getting some coal, honestly. So let's run over there real quick. All right, and something you might notice is we now have a second train line running over here. So let me explain what's going on. There's still some work that needs to be done here. No decorations, no nothing has happened yet, but it will happen, right? So what I've done is I've overclocked. Well, really, I've Mark III mitered this sulfur line running over here, because if we go back to where this new train station is, I have if you're an old head on this channel and you've been here for a while, you might remember that I had a super massive compacted coal area over here where I had a whole second floor. The second floor is gone, right? This is still running, and this is providing all the compacted coal that our power plant needs. So I had these two guys right here that are just doing nothing, right? And now they're Mark III miners. And so I have them all maxed out to 600. This is 1,200 coal per minute, and I think this is like 600 sulfur up here, right? And those are running to their own train station over here. And this is what's going to bring the coal we need for the gas filters over there, plus some sulfur. I'm sure we'll need sulfur for something, and I figured I might as well bring it over if I'm already going to put a train here. So made a whole new train station. It connects pretty easily, you know. I still need to do like the block signals and all that, but it'll just merge up right here. What I also did is built in a bypass, because like who knows when they're going to need a bypass, or when something branches off and goes that way or whatever, right? Like options. So this is good. I need to build a bypass up there, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I will do it before the episode's out, but yeah, so this is the idea. We're gonna, and this is what's nice is like, yeah, just throw another station in, boom, trains, right? They do everything that you need them to do, right? So yeah, so let's go back. Let's run back to the base, because there's some other stuff that I want to do while this is kind of getting all set up. Oh man, what are we doing back here, and what are all these red lights? Well, let me explain what's going on here. So, as some of you had pointed out in the past, we have kind of an issue with really the high stack size items, like wire and quick wire, right? They both stack 500, which is fine in an inventory, but on a belt line, it's crazy, right? So I wanted a way, because I have my wire right here. Well, this is copper sheets, but wire is somewhere over here. Yeah, wire. We got wire and cable, and this is just wire. And you see they're all turned off, right? So what I did is I used something that I think is kind of genius right here. We've set up some priority power switches. And what I've done is I've set it so that I can turn these factories on and off by utilizing one of these, right? So I can just flip this. So if you'll notice, all of the quick wire is turned off, and that kind of gets the AI limiters also, but AI limiters aren't that big of a deal. I could mess around with that if I really wanted to. But so what I can do is from any priority power switch, right? And if you're catching my drift here, I can set this up at the main base to kind of control this stuff, right? If I flip this on, it's weird. If I off means it turns on, but then the factory comes back and starts producing again. You know what I mean? What I should do, I should make that overflow. So I can do that, and I can turn the wire on. So it's kind of cool. It's weird. It's weird that turning it this way is off. Oh, I guess this doesn't really. Oh no, I guess this is off. For some reason, I was correlating these two buttons with this slider direction, but I think this controls everything in the priority group. Interesting. Eventually, I'd want all the systems on priority groups as a whole, because this is how you can cascade your power off in case you need to. So things in priority group 8, right? So here you would do critical infrastructure. What you need to make sure your power plants run would be here. And if you get to a system or a situation where you're exceeding your power draw, what would happen is everything in the high, or I guess lower priority groups, assuming 1 is the highest and 8 is the lowest, so everything in here would turn off first. And then if the system is still overloaded, then it just cascades down the priority group until you're fine, right? So this is a really good system. And eventually I really want to do that, but we're not there yet. And then I also have another one somewhere over here. Yeah, right here. Kind of haphazardly placed, but they're there, you know. But this is a really nice and easy way for me to control my my overflow here and make sure because I was just getting overwhelmed at the main base, right? You know what I might do? How much does this even take? 100. It might be worth it to take one of these and just underclock it so it's making 100, or like take these two and have them be on the same power circuit as this. But oh no, the smelters are still running. That might be worth it so that we're always making, you know what? I'm going to do that, but not right now. but I think that's a good idea. So, but this is all, this process is part of a slight redesign I did back at the sushi belts. So let me show you what I did there. Nothing crazy, but I updated the look. I wanted to give myself more flexibility when I'm bringing stuff up over here to kind of join it in somewhere wherever I need to. So I went vertical with the overflow, right? And I just put all the overflow stuff right on top of the main lines here. And I think it looks a lot better. Now, something cool. Well, I'm talking about this guy right here, right? That I think that's really cool. You kind of can't normally do that, but I figured out a way. But another thing I did is I instead of having like the first 6 smart splitters overflow onto the same belt, I tried to stagger the overflow. I don't know if that really helps, but it's doing something. Like here, I'm overflowing a bunch of cable and modular frames, right? And it works out pretty well. Now, again, I also turned off the wire, cable, and the quick wire. So the volume here is a lot lower just overall. Plus, we're drawing items down below on the production floor right below us. That's also helping, right? But I think this looks pretty cool. And actually, let me show you how I did this little one. Because I didn't really know you could do it, but apparently, obviously, you can, right? So I'll just get rid of this one, right? All I did was I take my lift and I snap it onto the top one, the upper merger in this case. And then when I click and I kind of like go down, the bottom disappears. But you might be able to hear there's a click, and you can see the little dotted line right here showing that it's connected. And then when you click again, it just does it, right? And things are getting onto this line, so I know that it's working. You know, I mean, things aren't getting on there right now, but eventually, if something comes in, it'll get on there. So I think that's good, you know, and it looks cool. So that's definitely a trick I'm going to be using elsewhere and all that, right? So anyway, I just want to kind of show you guys that, and it just makes everything just feel cleaner, you know, because we got so much going on down here. Yeah. So let's kind of wrap this up and get the gas filters going, because I really need to start getting towards cleaning up this stuff, because I'm tired of getting poisoned every time I go over there. Plus it'll let me kind of finish the upper part of the design and get into the waterfall area, kind of get over it. Because you see, like, we've got all kinds of uranium everywhere, and I'm just tired of it, honestly. So let's get all that stuff hooked up. So telling you about the train station does no good unless I kind of show you where it's coming in, and that's right here. We're on the quote-unquote main floor, right? That's the same floor that the other Blue Crater Lake train is coming in. And, you know, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do this. I figured some ceiling belts, just a little offset train. That's kind of the beauty of this setup, is you can kind of just slap trains anywhere. And that's kind of what I want to be able to do, you know, and use train spirals and all kinds of stuff to navigate vertically. But yeah, so we just kind of slap the train down here, and the return line, it kind of just comes up and runs around this opening and then just merges back in. So really, really simple. But it also did illuminate the fact that I need to put signaling in, because when there's one train, it doesn't matter. But when there's two trains, it matters, right? Multiple trains on one track, it definitely cares, right? So let me run back up to the production floor real quick. And you can kind of see how we're doing this. So we're still waiting for the coal to come in, but here's the manufacturer for the gas filters. And this is just the best thing ever, right? I'm excited about this. We have our iron plates, again, just popping off somewhere on the system, moving their way over. We're just running the fabric from over here into the system, and then we'll bring coal from right here, right? Once the train comes in, and then we'll be making the iron filter, or the iron filters, the gas filters, right? And yeah, that'll help us. Oh, look at this! I added another. Oh, by the way, I added another overflow here because I figured, like, if we're slow up there, then maybe we're slow down here, and this can also act as an overflow. And you can see this is because of how slow this is going. Like, some of this stuff's going back up. It just gives us another way to get rid of stuff. I didn't do it for the concrete. Maybe I could. Maybe I should, but I didn't. So, yeah, let's get this coal train running, and let's see some filters in action. And there we go. Look at that. Filters being made, coal being run, and everything is good. So I think we're gonna have to call it here. There's so much that's gone on. So much. This place looks so much different. And again, there's a ton of space. Like, I could fit a lot of stuff in here, and I haven't been maybe as compact as I possibly could be, but that's okay, right? I think that's fine. One of the okay, so I guess we need to start talking future stuff, right? Because I've been talking aluminum for a while. I don't think we're quite there yet. There's still some stuff I want to do over here, but I think we're definitely getting there, right? I need to do all the bauxite trains. That's going to be a thing. And that's going to mean that I'm going to have to do a lot there. So look for some live streams for that stuff going to happen, right? I still want to do it down there, I think. But I also want to design a cool blueprint that's almost self-contained. You know what I mean? Like, I want to just be dealing with inputs and outputs and just know that the module or whatever I make will do what I need it to do, if that makes sense, right? So that's something that we need to do. Again, lots of train work to do. That's all going to happen. And something else that I think I've been kind of looking at and thinking that it's probably time we do that soon. There's a lot of raw material, like, directly around our base here, right? There's a ton of iron down there. There's copper down on the floor over there. There's water near the main gate over there. There's stuff over here by the coal power plant. I think there's like a pure iron, a copper, and a limestone over there. There's some stuff right over, like, just past the transport, right? So there's SAM right up here. So I want to kind of take all of that stuff and build a system to bring it in and kind of get it, I guess, like, working or, like, utilized, right? Like, process and all that, because I know we're going to need that eventually, because we're going to have a lot of, like, I know we're going to need copper for the aluminum production, right? Alclad aluminum sheets take copper. Iron, like, once we kind of start making full-on production chains in this base, we're going to need the raw materials. And if we can just grab them from here and bring them in, well, then that just makes everything easier for us, right? So maybe trucks, that might be / probably will be what we want to do. Maybe trucks into trains. truck stations that feed train stations. Who knows, right? But I want to do something that kind of adds infrastructure to this forest because it's kind of too natural. You know what I mean? It just feels too natural, and it needs a little bit of our infrastructure. And of course, there's going to be like never-ending need to decorate and all that. So anyways, guys, that's kind of what I've been thinking, what the plan is. Maybe we'll unlock some milestones too, get more stuff, all kinds of stuff. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you in the next one.